So, has crypto winter arrived? In this video, I want to break down whether we are in a crypto winter, whether it's here, how long it might take. And I'm going to do that by breaking down a recent research report from Coinbase Institutional. Now, not every single indicator is flashing bright fluorescent red at us, but the market's not in good shape. And that's why I wanted to do this video, to dissect really where I think we're at in the current cycle, whether we actually ever were in a bull market, whether we're in a bear market, because in my opinion, this market is something that we haven't seen before. And a big part of that is the fact that we are so institutionally led now, or have been in the last 12 months since the first ETFs were published. So yeah, that's the aim of the video. We're going to go straight into it. And I'm also going to talk a little bit why now is a really good time for builders to be in crypto. Despite everything else that's going on, when you look at the markets, you look at the charts, you look at volume, liquidity, whatever it might be, it's still a very good time for builders. And I'm going to explain that in this video also. So let's get into it. Before we do, if you're new here, I'm Jacob Block. I'm a crypto growth hacker. I'm the founder of a best-in-class growth consultancy company called Magnets. We're part of the Forbes Business Council, and I recently published a best-selling book on crypto growth. So this is why this stuff's really important, because we are doing this every single day, and what's happening in the general market influences our job very, very much. So we have to be on top of this. Now let's get into it. First point we have to look at here is total market capitalization. So the total crypto market capitalization, excluding Bitcoin, has dropped to lower than $1 trillion. So if you take Bitcoin out of the picture, everything else in crypto has a market capitalization combined of under $1 trillion. Now, this is around a 41% drop since December 2024. We're only putting the clock back 3 or 4 months, and we've seen a 41% drop. This is hundreds of billions of dollars in value that has been lost in this market in the last few months. Because in December 2024, we were at $1.6 trillion. Now we're under $1 trillion. It's a big drop. It's also 17% down year on year. And this is the lowest we've seen since like 2021, 2022. And when we think about that time of, say, August 2021 to April 2022, that was almost classed as crypto winter. And where we're currently at is sitting below where we were in that range. So when we look at the title, are we in a crypto winter? The data is proving that the last crypto winter was even more optimistic than where we are currently right now. Now, one of the biggest impacts here is liquidity. Liquidity is shrinking massively. And the lack of liquidity pretty much creates this self-reinforcing cycle. And that cycle is this. Firstly, there's fewer active buyers, which means there's lower price support to support charts. The next one is that low prices reduce the confidence of the overall market in terms of people that want to come in and actually take action and buy things. And the third one, it reduces confidence, which leads to even more capital being sidelined, which essentially means that there is quite a lot of money right now sitting actively in stable coins, but people aren't willing to bite the bullet and go and invest those stable coins into the market because they're not confident on where the next direction for this market is going to be. The next point we're going to cover is about altcoins and why altcoins are taking the hardest hit. Because if you really think about it, we have been in a Bitcoin cycle for the last at least year, and altcoins normally follow Bitcoin. And when Bitcoin did first start rallying over a year ago now, altcoins started to rally as well. But since that point, Bitcoin's almost become its own animal. Altcoins aren't following Bitcoin like they used to. And there's a few reasons for this. The first reason is that obviously in altcoins, there's a lot less institutional interest and inflows. With Bitcoin, you have the ETF, there's a lot of institutional money going into Bitcoin. Altcoins don't have that buying volume and pressure coming in from the institutional market. The second point is that there is weak retail interest, which means your everyday crypto bro that wants to invest in crypto, they're not buying as much anymore. And one of the reasons for that is because they're not confident in the current market. Another reason for that is they might already be holding bags from other cycles. They're already burnt. They don't want to put more money in. They're waiting for the market to pick up so that they can cash out what they already have invested. So there is pretty much this lack of new money coming into the space, and especially altcoin space, whether it's from the institutional side or retail side. And I would say the third point here is that there has been a massive reduction in the amount of venture capitalist investment into the crypto market. So Q1 was pretty positive. I covered that last week. Q1 was positive for crypto in terms of VC investment. However, prior to Q1, we're seeing VC investment levels 50–60% lower than they were in previous years, like 2021, 2022. So there's less money coming in to actually build these projects and give these projects the money that they need to grow and essentially bring new people into the space and increase the buying volume and la la la. So it all has a knock-on effect. And with a lot of altcoins, they might never have built a profitable business. So they've relied on funding the whole lifespan of their project. And if that funding is now running low, they can't go out there and spend money to acquire new token holders, community members, or users for their protocol. Their only thing that they might have left is their treasury, and their treasury might be in their tokens. But because their markets are highly illiquid and also the price is quite far down, they can't exactly go and sell tokens into the market to try and fund the business and its future growth. So without increased VC money coming in, that side is pretty much in trouble in a way. And this really is a problem with crypto. At Magnet, we have now launched the Magnet Laboratory, where we do different forms of research in crypto, and we form new frameworks and models for how to grow a crypto project. So something like this, where projects are relying on those early VC checks, where they raise millions of dollars, and then they get to a point 18 months later in their journey, they have a highly liquid market, they have no VC money left, and they just have something that's unsustainable and doomed to die. That needs changing. And I think if we change that model that can be positive for VCs that are still coming in and investing, but also where those initial VC checks can actually be turned into profitable businesses away from just the token side, then VC investment would be, more encouraged. But unfortunately, what we've seen so far in crypto is that a lot of VCs will come in, they'll invest early, they'll essentially get a front run on the market because they'll be buying tokens at a much reduced rate. They'll know that these tokens are going to launch quite high, and then obviously they'll be able to cash their tokens out. That's going to bring the selling pressure to the market, and then it's very hard to try and, let's say a VC put $1 million in and they cashed out at a 10x, they're taking 10 million out of that market. If you suck 10 million out of a market, you got to try and fulfill that $10 million somewhere. And where is it when you don't have the money to go and acquire those token holders, community members, and users, unless you've done something amazing, you've really jumped on narrative and you've really kind of skyrocketed your price. So there's a lack of consideration for being able to deal with selling pressure, which is why so many markets right now are so illiquid, because anyone who could sell have sold, and they've just basically pulled all the liquidity out of that market through selling pressure. So it's a really tough spot to be in if you are a project founder. And we saw something last week, which is a bit different to this, but we saw OM, which is an RWA-based project, Mantra, and they were at like a $6 billion market cap. They had a market maker that had loan agreement to be able to buy the tokens at a certain price. I think it was around $1. And it was activated last week, and then they just dumped all of the tokens that they acquired and made a very healthy return. But that sucked so much liquidity out of the market, the price fell almost 90%. And that's a big project. So we're talking a big altcoin at a $6 billion market cap. What about these small altcoins that never got off to the races, never got past 10, 20, 30 million? How are they going to deal with increased selling pressure? So yeah, it's just something that founders need to be extremely careful of, and they need to plan ahead for. They can't just raise money and then worry about it later. The next point, of course, we can't go through this video without talking about macros. Macros are holding back crypto a lot right now. There's tariffs, which again, if you mention the word tariffs to anyone in crypto, they're not going to be too happy right now, because it's not just affecting crypto, it's affecting other global markets as well. Trump's obviously come into a dire situation economically in the US, and he's trying to do crazy things to improve the situation, and tariffs is one of them. And obviously it's causing a lot of reaction straight away. If we end up with a trade war or a global recession from the increase in tariffs and trade difficulties, then not just the US, but other economies are in massive problem. So That's why a lot of people are holding back on risk on assets like crypto, a much riskier asset, because the economic climate is so uncertain right now. So we are struggling to break out of the general kind of macro sentiment right now in crypto, kind of just sitting here and waiting to see how effective what Trump does actually is, or whether it's going to make things worse. And then finally, technical indicators, which are almost confirming the trend in everything that we're seeing. So I'm reading here, Bitcoin and the Coin 50 index, which tracks the top 50 coins, have both fallen below the 200-day moving average, a 200 DMA, which is a classic signal of shifting the long-term trend. Because we haven't just like taken a quick dip in January and then came straight back up again. We're nearly at the end of April now. Like we've been getting hit for almost 4 months. And then aside from that, trading volumes. Trading volumes are really decreasing on a lot of centralized exchanges and even DEXs. There's a lot less market participation right now and people wanting to get involved. And there's not too many highly liquid markets, which is also putting people off. In terms of when we look at kind of the data and the technical side, it's also indicating that we are in more of a wintry period right now. So yeah, they're the points that I wanted to mention in this video, but now I want to get into what potentially happens next. So firstly, I'm going to give you Coinbase's opinion, because they put this report together, right? So they think that the market could find a bottom in Q2 2025, which, yeah, we're obviously in now. We've obviously got April, May, and June. And they think that will potentially pave a way for recovery in Q3. So yeah, later on in the second half of the year. They're assuming if macro conditions stabilize and the investor risk appetite begins to return, then these things could happen. But in the near term, they still think that the outlook remains very cautious, and the next 4 to 6 weeks could bring more downside or, sideways movement, which, to be honest, we're used to by now. So essentially, I think that's quite bullish. The fact that we're already in this period, it might go on for another 4 to 6 weeks, and then we're going to start to find some form of bottom, and then we can move up from there. We can start to see a turn in everything that has been happening the last 4 months. And my opinion is very similar, I would say. I think we're waiting, and I mentioned it weeks and weeks on this channel, about waiting to find that bottom where we can't go any lower. Anyone that's sold has sold, and that people are going to realize that anyone sitting in stables are going to be like, okay, there's a bottom here. I'm going to start loading up a little bit, and we start to go a little bit green. More people start to come in and start to participate in the market thinking, okay, this is the bottom. This is the best prices that I can possibly buy at. And then on the back of that, we get some good macroeconomic news. There's good headway, for example, in tariffs. There's a lot more things going in our favor, which they haven't so far this year, which is going to fill more people with confidence and start putting money back into crypto assets. And then this is going to start to see an uptrend. And then as this uptrend is arising, everyone else is going to go, right, we're back. I'm going to come back into the market as well. People start to deploy their stables. We start moving up again. Then all it takes is, 2, 3, 4 really bullish things around crypto to happen, especially with Trump in charge, he's trying to be bullish on crypto, for us to really start to move up. So I'm not too sure on timelines, but I think that is the journey of like how we get out of this current market. I don't think we're going to sit here for ages unless macroeconomics take a further turn for the worse. If that does happen, then we will be sitting here for a while. So I think if we get that stability, like Coinbase said, we are going to be given the chance to start moving back up again. So yeah, I don't want you to be scared by the title of this video or the content of this video. We just have to realize where we are currently. And in terms of what's next, I'm hoping that we do get a shift here in the very near future, and we're not going to be stuck in this position for a very long time. So yeah, I'm always trying to bring the insights that you might not hear from other channels because they don't have the insight of the business side of crypto, and analyzing this information for the reasons that I have to. If you want to stay in the loop with the current market ongoings and things like that, then please subscribe to the channel. And I'm here every single week, sitting on the sofa, trying to, give you guys what you need. And then the final thing that I would say here is that, and I alluded to it in the intro, was that now is a great time. I nearly swore there, but now is a great time to be in the business side of crypto, building your own project, building your own business, because this industry is moving forward when you take away what's going on in the market. There is huge developments happening on the business side of crypto. There is a hugely bullish government now in the US, and there's a lot of things that are happening in the business side of crypto. Like I said, VC investment is up in Q1 2025. There's money coming back into this market. Trump's making some really good decisions solely based around crypto that are going to benefit the long term of the market, and that's going to keep rolling out over the next 2 to 3 years. Exchanges are planning their IPOs. They're going to get into the hands of retail more. They're becoming more credible. They're getting more authority. So there's a ton of reasons as to why this market is moving forward, regardless of current prices. So now is the time, because you've got this grace period where things aren't going crazy. So you can build something, you can prepare. And when the market does inevitably turn and we get out of this period, you're going to be ready to capitalize on that. Like, you could be sitting there right now, having never been in the business side of crypto. You can understand and learn what it takes to make it in the business side of crypto. Start building something. By the time you've built that, the market changes, you launch, and boom, you made it happen. And all of this period of just waiting. You stopped waiting and you just got active. You've become proactive and you built something so that when the market did turn, you weren't just watching your current bags return to their previous prices. You were creating new bags. So what I'm also going to do is drop a link in the description of this video, which is going to take you through my simple 3-step crypto launch system. So 3 steps, no experience required, on how you get into the business side of crypto, how you can launch your own crypto projects. So definitely go and watch that, because rather than sitting there watching your portfolio unhappily, you may as well be learning about the other side of this industry and whether it's something that you might want to pursue now to take advantage of when the market picks up. So yeah, that's all for today. There's some homework as well. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.